Today I'll teach you the 5 ways to create objects in Java using VS Code. So before going to the demonstration, I will just cover the theoretical concepts of what is class and object. Then I'll show the execution of applications to create objects in Java using VS Code. So what is a class? Class is a blueprint or template that defines the state, behavior, and identity of objects. Now state implies the instance variables. Behavior implies the methods of a class, and identity implies the name of the objects. Because for one class, we can create number of objects. In order to identify the objects, we need to give some name for the object. So that is called as identity, which should be unique. And whatever the variables you are going to define inside a class, that is called as instance variables, because I need to access the instance variables through objects. And object has been defined as an instance of a class. And behavior is nothing but the functionality or the logic what you want to write. So you need to write inside a method. Class consists of instance variables, methods. We can write some constructors for initializing the variables with some default values. Then we can write some blocks and the nested classes, a class within a class. Now coming to the program structure of Java. Now we need to write the topmost section is called a documentation section. And this section is nothing but the comment section, where you can describe about your application, like what is a application work or what for you are writing the application. The main task, that comment section you need to put, so that if anyone can see, they can understand. So it is suggested. Now then if you want to create any package in your application, that need to be the next line, because all programs we may not create packages, but wherever you work with creating the package, you need to write the package and followed by the package name. So the package is a collection of classes and interfaces. Now if you want to, that is optional. And if you want to import some packages, it could be predefined or user defined, whatever you have created which is already existing, you want to use some classes or interface from that, then you can put a import statement. That's also been optional, because all programs we may not require the packages. So wherever is required, you can put. Then after import statement, if you want to write some interface. Now interface is a concept which has been working with a multiple inheritance concept in Java. And it consists of some abstract methods. Now abstract method is nothing but a method without body definition, where you don't write any logic. So if you are creating in your application any sort of interfaces, you need to write that. That's also been optional. If it is required, you write, otherwise no for your application. Then we go for the class definition, because one program can consist of more than one class. So if you have more than one class, you can write the class followed by the class name, and you can write that. So that's also been optional, but there need to be one main class. Now the class which consists of main method, that has been considered the main class, because the execution of the Java application starts from the main method. So I need to write a main method inside a class. So wherever the main method is existing, that class is called a main class. So this is mandatory. So this is the hierarchy of the program structure of Java. So we need to follow the same. Now Java class structure, if you see a class, when you write the coding, what are the contents of the class? So here we have a class definition, and as I said before, we have instance variables. Like here we have a type with variable 1, then type with variable till n. Okay, so these are called type plus data type and the variable names. Then followed by the method 1, and the method consists of some statements. Method 2 can consist of 10 statements. Still like that, we can write number of methods, n number of methods. Now if you see in coding, the class keyword followed by the class name and open and close braces. This is called the class definition. So a class definition is started with the keyword class followed by a class name. So this is a description of that. Now I need to write some variables inside that. So you can put class followed by class name, already we have defined. Now you write data type with the variable. So you can write a number of variables, how many is required for your application. So one or more instance variables can follow the name of the class and must be declared within the curly brace of the class. Then after the data type, that is instance variables, we can write some methods. So you can write void method 1, method 2, method 3. So you can give your own method names, and the return types also can be anything. So this is only for understanding purpose we have put. Then now here we can see there is no logic, but here in the below one we are describing some statement like statement 1 to n. So this is the class structure where every class program will start with the class keyword, and you can have the instance variables and you can have the methods inside that. Now this is a sample class like public class cat. Now this is the class name, that's the name of the class. This is the keyword to define a class in Java, and public is nothing but the access modifier. This class is public, so can be accessed by anyone. So within a class, within a package or outside the package, the other class can call this class. So that's why we are giving it as public. Otherwise we can write private, protected or default cases where we are trying to make some restriction for accessibility of this class. But here since we are written public, within the package any class or outside the package any class can access this one. Now coming to the next line, here you can see the open curly braces for a class. Then we are taking two string variables, one is a name and one is color. So these are called as instance variables of a class, and the data type is of a string type. Now string is one of the predefined class in Java. So these two are acting as a string type. And one more variable, that is int age. So this is one more instance variable with the integer category. Now if you take the method, this is the method name. Every method need to have the parentheses like this. Inside this you can hold some parameters also if required, and this is the return type. Return type is void, and some cases you can write integer, float, double, like that. So for this also the open and closing curly braces. Now wherever you write open and closing curly braces, that is called as a block. And inside this is the logic what they have written now, only printing some statement. So in this way you can define number of instance variables, number of methods inside a class. Now coming to what is an object. Object is an instance of a class. So every object is holding or acting as a record, and every object is having the right to access all the instance variables of a class and the methods of a class. So that's why it is called as an instance of a class. It's like a record. Like suppose in a class 50 students are there, 50 instances or 50 objects I can create of a class, because all students are eligible to write all subjects in a class. Like roll number 1 is one object, roll number 2 is another object till 50, roll number all 1 to 50 students, each one is called as one object. Now the instance variables and methods of a class need to be accessed through objects. Like object dot variable name we need to access, like object dot method name we need to call. Coming to the characteristics of an object, as I mentioned before, we have a state of the object, that means represents the data of the object. This is nothing but instance variables, can be accessed through object. The behavior represents the behavior of an object such as deposit, withdrawal, etc. So these are nothing but functions, or we call it as methods of a class, which are where the object can access. Now every object need to have its name. That's called identity. It is used internally by the Java virtual machine to identify each object uniquely. I said 50 objects just now. So roll number 1 is one object, 2 is another object. So 50 students, 50 different names for the objects to be given. Maybe I can call roll number as an object, like 1 to 50. So everything is unique. So if at all I want to identify any student, I will identify by the roll number. So these three comes under the characteristics of an object. Now, what are the 5 ways available to create Java object? Now I can use new keyword in order to create a Java object. I need to use a new instance method of a class called class. So in Java we have a predefined class called class. So this capital C. Now here it is a small c. Now this small c class is a keyword. This capital C class is a predefined class from language package, java.language. Now that is the default package in Java. So in that package we have a class called class. So there is a method called new instance of this class. I can use that. I can go for a method called clone for creating a Java object. I can apply the process of deserialization, and I can use new instance method of a constructor class also. So this class and this class is different. So these are the possible 5 ways. We'll see one by one. Now if you take method 1 using new keyword, now the new keyword is the most common technique used to instantiate an object. Instantiate means creating an object. Now the new keyword calls the constructor of the object and creates a new instance of the class. So here if you can see the example syntax, here we write the class name for which I want to create an object. The class name you need to write. The object name is user defined. You can give any name as an object name. It's an assignment operator followed by the new operator which is used to allocate memory at runtime, and this is called as a constructor. Now this is called a constructor calling. So this class name and the constructor name should be same, because when we talk about the constructor rules, the class name and constructor name need to be same, and the constructor purpose is to initialize the instance variables with some value. So here you can see the new keyword calls the constructor of the object and creates a new instance of the class. So this is called as constructor calling. So this one line, by using new keyword, we are able to create the object of this particular class. Then by using this object, I can call a variable of this class or a method. Okay, so how many variables, how many methods are available, all we can call. So this is one technique. Now coming to method 2, using new instance method of a class called class. Now the new instance method of the class calls the default constructor to create the object. So when we talk about constructor, we have some types like default and parameterized. So here this new instance method is calling a default constructor of that particular class for which we are creating the object. The method returns the newly created instance of a class of which the object is a part. So when you apply new instance method, it is creating the object of the class for which you are applying. Now here you can see capital C again, class.forName. So forName is a static method. That's the reason we are calling with the help of the class name. Because all these static methods which are not available inside its own class should be called with their class name only. So that's why we are writing the class.forName, because the forName is available inside this class. And you need to give the class name for which you want to create the object. And that is going to create a reference of this class, and the reference variable is CLS. Now after that, once you are creating the reference variable of the class for which you want to create the object, you need to use here CLS dot, that is the reference dot new instance. The CLS is standing for what? The class name what you are giving here, dot new instance. For this class, whatever you're mentioning, for that you need to create an object. That's the meaning. And you need to write the class name, whatever you have written here, that should be there, and this is for typecasting. Now this is the object created by using this instance, but here by using this class dot new instance method, I am able to create the object. Third method is using clone method. Clone is nothing but a duplicating of the object here. The clone method is present inside the object class. Now when we talk about the classes in Java, the topmost class from which all the classes have been derived is nothing but an object class. So this clone method is part of this object class. Now The clone method can create a copy of a pre-existing object and return it. See, already there need to be one object, then only we can create a duplicate copy of the particular object. Now it copies the previous object properties into the newly created object. So here we are trying to make a copy of the pre-existing one. So once you are trying to create, then what happens is what all properties which were available for the previous object, that is being transferred. That is nothing but making a copy to the new object also. Suppose two variables were there for the previous object, the same two variables are being copied into the newly created object. Now the clone method does not call the constructor if the object to be copied does not support a clonable interface. The method will throw clone not supported exception. Suppose whenever there is a copying has been done and there is one interface called clonable interface, if the particular object is not supporting the clonable interface, then the clone method is having the possibility to throw clone not support exception. So another way, what I can say is, if you're trying to make a copy of the existing object and is there any problem which has not been doing that, then obviously clone not supported exception will be raised. Now how to do this? You can see here the old object name which is already existing dot clone method you need to apply, and that is going to create a new object of the same class. Okay, and whatever the class you're writing, the same class you need to put, because we need to go for the typecasting so that it becomes a proper type. Now coming to the fourth method, that is using deserialization. Now what is serialization in Java means? You convert an object into a sequence of byte streams. Now byte stream is nothing but zeros and ones. Flow is called as a byte streams. So your actual object I'm trying to convert into stream of bytes, and I'm going to store into a file, or it could be a database, or it could be some storage. Now the reverse process of serialization is called a deserialization. Like in serialization, you are converting an object into byte streams. Deserialization means you take out the byte streams and reconvert into an object. That is called a deserialization. So the JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine, creates an object whenever we deserialize an object. From the byte streams, you are going to reconstruct the object. That is called deserialization. It does not use a constructor to create objects. To use deserialization, the serialization interface must be implemented at first. So in Java, we do have a serialization interface. The serialization interface we need to implement. Now coming to the syntax for serialization, we can use one method called write object. Write object is used to write the object into a particular file. So here you need to give what object you want to write into a particular file. For deserialization, there is a method called read object. The read object is going to reconstruct the object from the byte streams, and it can throw some exception like IO exception and class not found exception, because whenever you want to store some data into the file, you need to give the file name in which you want to store, and whenever you are reading the byte streams from the file, we need to give there also from which file you won't need to read the byte streams and reconstruct your object. So that's why there is a whenever you are giving the file name, no, if that particular file name whatever you are giving is not correct, then class not found exception is raised. And whenever you're writing and reading there is a problem, IO exception will be raised. Now if you can see this diagram, you can understand what is serialization and deserialization in Java. So we have an actual object of Java that you're converting into stream of bytes through serialization, and that stream of bytes you can store into a file, you can store into a database, you can store into a memory. Now this complete part is called a serialization. Now here these things are storing byte streams. Now I need to reconstruct the object. So you take the byte streams. It could be from file, or it could be from DB database, and it could be from the memory. So where you have saved the file, from where there we need to take out the stream of bytes and reconstruct the object. That is called deserialization. Converting object to stream of bytes is serialization. Converting stream of bytes into object is deserialization. Now coming to method 5, using new instance of a constructor class. Now the new instance method of java.language.reflect.constructor. So the constructor class is available in a package called Reflect. Reflect is a subpackage of language. Language is a subpackage of Java. Okay, this class is used to create objects. So new instance method of constructor class is used to create objects. It can also call the parameterized constructor and private constructor by using new instance methods. So here we have the possibility to call the parameters as well as the private constructor also for creating new instance. Now here we have the constructor class, and you need to give the class name for which you want to create the object, and this has been acting as an object and assignment operator, then followed by the class name dot whatever you are writing here dot class dot get constructor method. Now once you create the constructor reference, by using that constructor reference you need to apply the new instance method so that the object has been created for the class for which you want. This class and this class need to be same, and here also the class name need to be same. So first you're trying to get the reference of this particular class constructor, then by using that reference variable you're trying to apply the new instance method and creating the object of the class. Now these are the 5 possible ways to create object in Java. Now I'll show the demonstration of the applications of all these 5 methods. So in order to work with this, I'll open the Visual Studio Code. So this is a software what you need to already install in your system, and you type and search for Visual Studio Code and open. Now this is the environment for the Visual Studio Code. So whichever windows are not applicable, you can just close that. And the first thing what you need to do here is you can create one folder in order to store your Java files. So here already I have created the folders, and how to create the folder already I have mentioned in the previous videos. You can just refer to that. And here VS5 is a folder what I've created, and I put some applications here. If you want to create a folder, this is an option where you can create a new folder, and this is a new file. And whenever you are saving the files, you need to give .java as an extension, which is mandatory. All Java applications are being having the .java as an extension. Okay, now I'll go for the first method, that is new by using new operator. Now here I've taken class, and the class name is new demo, and I've taken 2 instance variables. One is for the ID, which is an integer, one is the name, that is a string. Now in the main method, which is an entry point for the execution. Now here you can see this line, I'm creating the object. So this new demo is a class name, S1 is an object, assignment operator, the new operator for memory allocation at runtime, and the constructor is called here. This is a default constructor calling. Now this is the first method how to create a object. So this S1 object is created. Now once the object is created, you can access the instance variable, that is ID, and you can give some value, and name, and you can give some value. I cannot write ID and name directly. I need to create the object. Through object only I need to call here. So s1.id and s1.name, whatever already we have defined here. When you're printing also, you need to take the reference of the object. Let us suppose 50 students are there. So 50 students like s1.id, s1.name, then s2.id, s2.name. So I need to give the reference of the object mandatory in order to get the exact object values. So while printing also you need to take the reference. So this is one way, the first method how to create the object and access the variables. So any application once you type, you need to save that application, and here we have a run code option button. Just click that, and you can see the values like 101 and John both have been displayed here because we have accessed that values and printed. Okay, now I'll show one more application for the same by using new. This is a new demo one. Now here I've taken 2 classes. one class named as student, and it is holding a roll number and name. One is an integer, one is. Now there is a method. As I said before, a class can consist of methods and variables. So here I am having insert record is a method, and the return type is void. And this insert record is holding two parameters. One is an integer, one is a string. Now R for roll number, N for name. So whenever you're calling this function, we need to pass two values. One is for the roll number, one is for the name. And that should be compulsorily initialized to the instance variables only. So R is initialized to roll number, N is initialized to the name. And one more method we have written, display information, where I'm printing the roll number and name. Since this roll number and name are available inside the same class, I need not write here any object name. Okay. Now this is one class where we are closing this class here. So two methods and two instance variables. Now I want to access that. So I'm writing one more class called new demo1, and this is holding main method. So a class which can contain main method, that class is called as main class. So in this application, new demo1 is a main class. The student is a normal class, but I want to access the methods of student class. So you need to create the object of student only. Don't create the object of main class, because the insert record and display information is available in the student class. So your task is to call those methods from student class. You need to create the object of that class only. So I created student S1 again by using new operator, calling the constructor. Then second object is S2. Now S1 dot insert record, I need to give two values, right? One is for the roll number 101, the name is XYZ. One more time I am calling, but for with S2, 211 and PQR. If I call display information from S1 by S1 object, you are going to get 101 and XYZ. S2 dot display information, you are going to get 211 and PQR as an answer. So just save this file and run the code. And here you can see the S1 object is giving 101 XYZ and S2 object is giving 211 and PQR. Now here also we are applying the first method by using new operator only. We are creating the object. Now the object here is S1 and S2. Now I will show you the second method for creating object. Okay. Now this is the second method by using new instance of a class called class. So here you can see the class name is new instance, what I framed. Then I'm taking a string variable and initialize with XYZ. Then the main method, public static void in the try block. Class.forName. Now this one is available in language package, that's the default package. So I need not write any package in this program. Dot for name is a static method. In that, this new instance, I want to create the object, because the new instance is the same class, right? For this only I want to create the object. So I'm giving the same name. So here I'm creating a reference variable of the class called class. Once you create this one, I need to apply new instance method, the object.new instance method, and it is going to create the object of this class. But I need to typecast it properly. The same name I need to give. So two lines. One is to create the class reference variable. Once you create, you need to apply the new instance method and create the object of this class, because this class reference already we are given here. Okay, so the second method says that the new instance method is applied for creating the object, and print that name, whatever the name is been already defined. You need to access with the object. So once you create by using new instance the Java object, you can call object.name. Then you can get this particular value. Okay, so here whatever the class name you are giving is maybe wrong, then you are going to get an exception called class not found exception. Class not found exception. And here the e.print stack trace says that it is going to print the complete error message, whatever has been identified. So we are using try and catch block in order to catch class not found exception, because whatever you are mentioning here, if it is wrong, then the class is not identified, then class not found exception is raised. So this is the second way. Just I'll save this file and execute. We'll see the answer. Now here you can see the XYZ has been given the answer. So whatever you mentioned here, that only you are accessing. But here the thing what you need to understand here I'm not applying any new operator. I'm applying the class method like for name. This is used to load the particular class, and this is used to create the instance of the particular class. Okay. Now coming to the third method. Third method is cloning. Cloning is nothing but duplicating the object, right? So here I'm writing public class clone demo. That's the class name. It should implement one interface called clonable, because I need to override the method called clone. So the clone is a method from the clonable. So I need to override that, and this is an abstract method. So I need to write the logic for this. So that's the reason we are using clonable, and it returns an object here, and it has been protected. It works with inheritance. The subclass can access superclass methods. Then this clone method is having the possibility to throw clone not supported exception, and inside this I'm returning a super.clone. Means super is nothing but this one. Whatever is applicable, the clone method is applicable for this, the functionality for this particular superclass that need to be returned. Now we have taken one variable called name, and I put something called hello world there. And in the main method, I'm creating a clonable object. This is a normal way of creating a new operator, but coming to the next line, you can see I want to make a duplicate object of this one. So in the try block, again I'm writing, but here I'm not using new operator, I'm using clone method here. The existing object dot clone method, so that what all properties are applicable here, that should be copied into object 2 also. Okay, so you need to properly typecast of the class type. So the clone method we are calling ob1.clone, and it is going to call this method, and it is going to return the features. Whatever is applicable in the superclass, the same features have been applicable, and the duplicate copy has been created. Now here you can see whenever I'm accessing name, I'm not accessing with object 1, I'm accessing with object 2, and the object 2 is been created by cloning. Okay. And here there's a possibility of clone not supported exception. That means if you're not, that means there's any problem while calling the clone method or anything you are not written properly here, then clone not support exception is raised, and the complete error message is printed by print stack trace method. So this is the third method. We'll try to save and execute and see the answer. The thing is, we are creating object 2 by clone method, and object 1 properties are dumped here. Object 1 property is what? Name. That name can be accessed by object 2 also. That's the reason we are, after cloning, I'm accessing the name. Just run this, and you can see hello world has been accessed by object 2 since it was created by clone method. Then coming to the fourth method, we need to go for serialization and deserialization. So first we need to run the program for serialization demo. So try to understand this. Now here I'm importing java.io.star and java.io.serializable. Okay, if you put star, you can get serializable interface also, but exclusively to show, I've written this one. Import java.io. So java.io is a package, and star implies all class and interfaces from this IO package. When you go for this interface serializable, still it is existing in IO. When you write star, it's enough, but still I want to show how to work with a single interface. If you want to, or a single class you want to import, you can write like this, and don't put star mark. A class serializable demo, serialized demo is a user defined class name. Implement serializable. This is mandatory. Serializable, then only we can get the serializable features. Now here we are taking two variables. One is integer with intern ID, and the name intern name. That is string type. Now here I am writing a constructor. You can see the serialized demo and the class name both are same. So it's a constructor with two parameters. So I can call it the parameterized constructor. And here also I'm taking the same intern ID and the intern name as I've taken for instance variables. And here the data type also should be same. Now here you can see why we are using this keyword. If you can see this intern ID, intern name, whatever you mentioned here, no, those are instance variables, and the intern ID and intern name, whatever you mentioned here, is a formal parameters. So whenever the formal parameter and instance variable name both are same, like intern ID and intern name, intern ID and intern name, then you can prefix this keyword for the left hand side, which is nothing but instance variable. So the compiler need to understand which is instance variable and which is formal parameter. So the right hand side is a formal parameter, left hand side is a instance variables. But we know, but in order to make the compiler know, we need to prefix this keyword only in these situations. Suppose these variable names are different, then no need of this keyword. Now that is the constructor work, initializing. Then in the main method, I'm creating an object of serializable demo. This class object I'm creating called I by using new operator. And here I'm giving constructor value. For intern ID I'm giving 1, and for intern name I'm giving XYZ. So this constructor get called, and intern ID will be stored and intern name will be stored. Now what I need to do here is I need to put this object called I into one file. Okay, but not directly. I want to convert into a stream of bytes. So which file you want to put this particular byte stream? So you need to create one file. So file output stream is used to create a file. So you can see file output stream fout is an object equal to new file output stream, and in this you need to give the name of the file into which you want to store. So I'm creating one simple.txt file, the text file, and I want to store the data. So once you create the particular file, that fout object should give as a parameter for the object output stream. Now what does the object output stream does is, whatever the object you are been created here, that it is going to convert into byte streams. But after converting, where it need to put, so that need to put in fout reference. This fout is standing for what? Simple.txt. So in simple terms, the serializable object whatever you have created, that you need to convert into a byte stream and store into a file, that is simple.txt. Now how to store? We have an object called write object is a method, and that you are calling with object output stream. Okay, because the responsibility of the object output stream is to convert the object into byte stream. So I am having one write object method, and you can see this I value I'm passing as a parameter for write object. That means this object is converted into byte streams and storing in simple.txt. Then the output buffer to be cleared, because after writing the output buffer to be cleared, so I'm using flush method, and you can close the file. And you can, if everything is correct now, you need to get created text file successfully as an answer. If something is wrong, then you can see that the exception is raised and the error message is printed here. Okay, now when I just execute this program, I need to get automatically one file called simple.txt. So just I will rerun this program. Now here I am getting created text successfully. So here in this list I can see there is simple.txt created, and just open and see in the text editor. You can see this is a thing what you're going to get, which is nothing but a byte streams. Okay, so which is not understandable for us. In between there is some special marks and all these things, right? Now this is the actual object which is converted to byte stream and stored. Now I need to deserialize. Deserialize means I need to get my answer back, converting from byte streams to, you read the byte streams and convert into object. So how do you do that? So I have written one more file here. Okay. Now this is the program for deserialization. Now here you can say import IO package with star with all class and interfaces. Class name is deserialize demo. Then main method in the try block, I am creating an object input stream n equal to new object input stream, and the parameter is nothing but the file name from which I need to read, I need to give. So here new file input stream, and you give the file name. Okay. That's simple.txt. Now this is acting as a parameter for object input stream, because in this file only the byte streams are being stored. From that you need to take out and convert into object. So once you create the object input stream object, by using that you need to apply a method called read object. In serializing we use write object, but here I need to use read object, and you create an object of the serialized demo by using this one, that is reconstructing the object back. Okay, byte streams you got, and you are converting into an object. Now, once you get the object, now you can call the variable name int id and variable name intern name, because this in this object only these two variables are being stored and its values have been stored. Okay, so just reconstruct the byte streams from the simple.txt and convert into object. Once it is converted into object here of this class, you can call the variables whatever was designed earlier. So if any exception, again I'm trying to print the exception here by using a catch block. Just save the file and run, and you can see this 1 and xyz has been printed here. So this 1 and xyz we have put in serializable program, but in deserializable I want to access it. Okay, and I was showing simple.txt also, that is in different format, but now I'm getting the proper format. That means the byte streams was read by using read object and converting into a Java object. By using that Java object, you are calling this Java object dot intern id and intern name. So this is one way of creating the object through serialization and deserialization. Now the last method, the fifth method, I'll show with the new instance of the constructor class. Now here there is a class called constructor in reflect package. Okay, so import java.lang.reflect.star. There is a class called constructor that I want to use, so we have imported this. If you don't write also no problem, because java.language is a default package. Okay, you need to mention here we are mentioning star implies all classes from reflect package. Now public class, the class name, then I'm taking a string variable, a private variable, then I'm initializing whatever the, whenever I'm calling this name method, I'm giving some name. That name to be initialized to the instance variable. So here also the same thing. This formal parameter and the instance variable both are same. I need to use this method, this keyword. Now there is a static method. Now here you can see there is a class called constructor. Now from the reflect package. Now in the angle brackets you can see which class object you want to create. So the class name is what? Co-instance demo, the same class I'm writing here. Then this is the reference variable of the constructor, and here you can see the class name dot class dot get declared constructor. Now this is a method in order to get the constructor reference. Okay, so I'm getting this. Once you get this, you can apply new instance method. Only 2 lines. So first to get the constructor reference, but while getting the constructor reference, you need to clearly mention which class constructor reference you require. Okay, so the above class is what? Co-instance demo. You need to write that one only. While calling get declared constructor also, you need to call with the same class name. Dot class dot science. Now once you get that, you apply new instance method and create the object of your own class. Once it is created, then it is normal like you call a method called name and you pass the xyz. That xyz will be storing here and that will be initialized to the instance variable called name. Then later on you can print. So this is the fifth way to create the Java object by using the constructor class. Okay, so 2 lines you need to remember. I just save this file and see whether you are getting the answer. Like we are given xyz, no, that xyz need to be printed. Yes, we are getting the xyz. Now these are all the possible 5 ways to create the Java object. So I hope you have understood these 5 mechanisms or the techniques used for creating Java objects. And if you like this tutorial, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.